Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network and iHeartRadio. Welcome to Hunting for Answers, a true crime podcast. I'm your host, Hunter, and today we're highlighting one of the most baffling missing person cases out there. A case that spans 2 states, more than a decade, and 2 separate disappearances. In January 2012, a 43-year-old mother of 3 reportedly borrowed a bicycle from her ex-boyfriend's barbershop in Portsmouth, Virginia, and rode away. She was never seen again. For years, her family searched. They fought for updates. They held on to hope. Then in July 2025, a tip came in about a woman living in Michigan, a woman with no memory of who she was, a woman who looked just like their loved one. And just as police moved in to confirm her identity, she vanished. This is the story of Kathryn Griffin. Kathryn Benet Griffin was 43 years old when she disappeared. An African-American woman, approximately 5'4" to 5'5", and about 150 pounds, with short dark hair. Her ears were pierced, and she had a long, distinct scar across her abdomen, a detail that would become critical years later. Kathryn's life had been complicated. Sources like the Charlie Project have reported that she also endured the devastating loss of an infant son in the 1990s. According to public records, she struggled with addiction and served time for drug-related charges and probation violations. But she remained close to her family, especially her mother, Linda Archie. Linda was helping raise 2 of Kathryn's children at the time, including her youngest, an 8-year-old son. And Linda says they had a simple rule: never go more than 3 days without talking. And that rule is exactly why what happened next shook their entire family. January 7th, 2012. A Saturday morning in Portsmouth, Virginia. Linda Archie visited the barbershop that morning with Kathryn's 3 children. Kathryn hugged them, kissed them, told them she loved them. No one knew it would be the last time they would see her. Around noon, according to her ex-boyfriend, Kathryn borrowed his brown bicycle and rode away. She was last seen wearing blue jeans, a plaid jacket, and a black mock. After that, it was silence. She didn't come home that night, or the next, or the next. 9 days passed before Kathryn was reported missing. On January 16, 2012, her family filed the report. But from the very beginning, Kathryn's mother, Linda, felt that something wasn't right. She told investigators that Kathryn wasn't someone who rode bikes. And despite visiting the barbershop many times, she said she had never seen a bicycle there at all. And then there was something else that she couldn't shake. Linda believed Kathryn's ex-boyfriend knew more than he was saying. The Portsmouth Police Department launched an investigation. They searched nearby wooded areas and waterways, but no trace of Kathryn was found. There were unconfirmed community-reported sightings that she may have been seen in the days after January 7th, but none of those reports were ever verified by police. As weeks turned into months, and months turned into years, the case grew cold. 4 different detectives would eventually handle it, a sign of how difficult and frustrating this investigation had become. Linda Archie never stopped searching for answers, though. Kathryn's children did grow up without their mother, and for more than a decade, her family lived in limbo, not knowing if Kathryn was alive or gone forever. Now let's shift our focus 600 miles north to Romulus, Michigan. Sometime in the early mid to 2010s, a woman arrived at the Beyond Boundaries Adult Foster Care Center. She was a double amputee with both legs missing below the knee. She was also missing her left pinky finger, according to local reporting. But the most shocking thing about this woman wasn't her injuries. It was that she had no idea who she was. She called herself China Black. She sometimes used the names C.J. Jones or Joynez Johnson. But none of these identities could be verified. She had no documentation, no history, and no memory of her life before arriving there. China Black told care workers what little she could remember. She believed she was from Detroit. She thought she had been married to a man named Peter Smith. And she said she had a son, a boy named David, who lived in California. But the memory that stood out most was an accident. She claimed she was hit by a drunk driver after leaving a McDonald's on Woodward Avenue, near the campus of Wayne State University. She believed that was when she lost her memory. But there was one problem. No one could verify any part of her story. No accident report, no hospital records, no family, no names that led anywhere. It was as if China Black had appeared out of thin air. In 2018, Michigan State Police formally took on the case. They identified the woman known as China Black as the state's first living Jane Doe. Investigators used every standard tool available. They ran her fingerprints, submitted her photos for facial recognition, and attempted DNA analysis. But none of those efforts produced a confirmed identity. Her fingerprints didn't match any records. Facial recognition generated no useful leads, and the DNA sample came back inconclusive, a result Detective Robert Hawley said may have been affected by the medications she was taking at the time. For years, China Black remained a complete mystery. A woman without a confirmed past, without documents, and without a name. The DNA Doe Project, a nonprofit that uses genetic genealogy to identify unknown individuals, lists her case on its website. But as of now, no identification has been made. Fast forward to July 2025. 13 years after Kathryn Griffin vanished from Portsmouth, Virginia. A social media user came across photos of both women, Kathryn Griffin and the woman known as China Black, and noticed something, a striking resemblance. They sent a tip to the Portsmouth Police Department. Detective Robert Hawley reviewed the photos and compared them to Kathryn's old case files. And there it was, the detail that stood out above everything else. A large scar across the abdomen, a scar both women shared. Hawley told the media that the similarities, including that scar, were significant, enough to warrant a serious look at whether the two women could be the same person. After more than a decade with no breaks, it felt like the first real lead, a possibility that Kathryn Griffin might still be alive. But then, another twist. When Portsmouth police tried to locate the woman known as China Black in Michigan, they couldn't find her. She was no longer living at the Beyond Boundaries Adult Foster Care Center, and investigators couldn't determine where she went next. The woman seemed to have vanished again. Detective Robert Hawley told reporters that if police could find her, they planned to collect a new DNA sample and compare it to a sample from Kathryn's mother, Linda Archie, a test that would confirm once and for all whether China Black and Kathryn Griffin were the same person. But that test has never happened because today, no one knows where China Black is. So, what are we left with? A 43-year-old mother who disappeared from a barbershop in 2012, and a woman who turned up in Michigan sometime in the early to mid-2010s with no memory and severe life-altering injuries. If China Black is Kathryn Griffin, this case raises even more questions. How did Kathryn get from Virginia to Michigan? What happened to cause her double amputations? How did she end up losing her pinky? And most importantly, did she truly lose her memory in an accident? Or was something else going on? Kathryn's mother never believed the story about the bicycle. She never saw one at the barbershop. And she never believed her daughter would have left voluntarily without checking in. So what happened to Kathryn Griffin? As of December 2025, her case remains unsolved. Authorities are still looking for the woman known as China Black. The DNA Doe Project still lists her case as active, and Kathryn's family, especially her mother and children, are still waiting for answers. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family and friends of Kathryn Griffin. If you recognize the woman known as China Black, or if you know anything about what happened to Kathryn Benet Griffin, your information could finally bring the answers her family and investigators have been searching for. If you have any information about the disappearance of Kathryn Griffin or the whereabouts of the woman known as China Black, you're urged to contact the Portsmouth Police Department or call the crime line. For information related to the Michigan side of this case, contact Michigan State Police. Their contact information is listed in the description below. As we close out this episode, remember that sharing Kathryn's story helps spread the word and could help bring more awareness to her case, or even spark a lead that moves this investigation forward. Follow Hunting for Answers for updates on this case and others like it. Subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Instagram and TikTok for more true crime stories and case updates. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to share your thoughts on this case in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. Until next time. Hunting for Answers is a production of the Black Effect Podcast Network. For more podcasts from the Black Effect Podcast Network, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.